Welcome to Revenge with Luna. I launched my handmade jewelry brand at a pop-up showcase I'd been planning for 8 months, and I invited every single person in my family to be there. Not one of them came. They were 40 minutes across town at my brother's law firm anniversary dinner, the one his firm throws every year, the one that happens every single October like clockwork. And somehow this year it was more important than the one thing I had ever built from nothing. I stood under string lights. I had hung myself behind a table draped in white linen, wearing the earrings I had made at 2 in the morning on a Tuesday, and I watched strangers admire my work while my phone stayed silent. My name is Isa Beckett. I'm 32. And if you think you know how this ends, you don't. What do you do when you realize the people who were supposed to cheer the loudest didn't even bother to show up? The venue smelled like cedar and candle wax. I had chosen it because the exposed brick walls made the gold pieces glow. I had spent 3 weekends arranging the display, pricing each item by hand, writing little cards that explained the story behind every collection. The centerpiece was a set I called the Quiet Ones. Delicate chain necklaces with pressed wildflower pendants, each one different because I pressed every flower myself from the field behind my apartment. My mother knew about that collection. I had told her about it over the phone in August, and she had said, "That sounds beautiful, honey." She said it the way people say things they don't intend to remember. By 7 o'clock, the venue was full of strangers. A woman from Portland bought 3 necklaces and asked if I did wholesale. A couple from out of town found me through a local blog and said they had detoured just to come. I smiled and thanked them and wrapped their purchases in tissue paper, and all the while, my phone had exactly 0 notifications from anyone who shared my last name. At 8:15, my brother finally texted. It was one sentence. "Sorry we missed it. How'd it go?" I stared at it for a long moment. Then I put my phone face down on the table and helped a teenager pick out a birthday gift for her mom. I didn't respond to him that night. I didn't respond to my mother's voicemail either, the one she left at 9:40 where she said the dinner ran long and traffic was terrible and she hoped it went well. I didn't respond to my father's text that just said "proud of you, kid," with no punctuation, sent at 10:22 when they were almost certainly already home and settled. I closed up alone. I wrapped every unsold piece in cloth. I folded the linen tablecloth. I took down the string lights one bulb hook at a time. And when I got to my car, I sat in the parking lot for about 10 minutes just breathing, not crying, just letting it land. The next morning, I made a decision. Every piece I had held back from the showcase, the limited ones I had been saving to offer family at a discount first, I listed them on my website at full price. No exceptions, no family tab, no "I'll send you one when I get a chance." The shop went live at 9 a.m. By noon, everything had sold. I posted a photo of the empty display table with a caption that said, "Thank you to everyone who showed up Saturday. You made this mean something." I did not tag my family. I did not need to. My brother called that evening. I was reorganizing my workbench, sorting wire gauges into little labeled jars, and his name lit up my screen like he expected everything to be normal. I answered. "Hey," he said, easy and relaxed. "So Mom said you seemed upset. Are you good?" I set down the wire. "I'm fine. Look, the dinner was a whole thing. You know how the partners get. It wasn't like we chose it over you." "You did though," I said. "That's actually exactly what happened." He made a small sound, something between a sigh and a laugh. "Come on, your thing happens again, right?" "You can do another one." "My thing," I said. "The pop-up. You can do it again." I looked at my workbench, at the tools I had bought one by one over 4 years, at the sketchbook with 6 months of designs in it, at the shipping labels printed in a neat stack for the next week's orders. "The partners' dinner happens every year," I said. "You could have come to mine and gone to theirs next October. You chose not to." He didn't have an answer for that. I could hear him in the background of his own house, the television on, something casual, a normal Tuesday night. "I think Dad wants to talk to you," he said finally. "He has some thoughts about the business side of things." I already knew what that meant. My father had been making noises for months about how I should be more strategic, how a jewelry brand wasn't scalable, how I should be looking for a real storefront or a silent partner, how he knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy. It was never support. It was always management. "Tell him the business is doing fine," I said. "I have everything I need. He just wants to help. Then he should have shown up Saturday. I hung up. I didn't throw my phone or slam anything. I just set it face down again and went back to sorting wire. The next day I reached out to the venue coordinator and booked 3 more dates. 2 days after that, my father showed up at my apartment. He didn't call first. He knocked twice, and when I opened the door he was standing there in his work jacket, the navy one he wears when he wants to seem casual but means business, and he said, "Got a minute?" I stepped outside instead of letting him in. "You're upset," he said. "I'm clear," I told him. "There's a difference." He sighed. The kind of sigh that means he thinks he's dealing with something emotional rather than something legitimate. "Your mother feels terrible." "I know. We made a mistake." "You did. But Isla." He paused, choosing the word. "You can't go silent on the whole family over one event." "It wasn't one event," I said. "It was the first time I ever asked all of you to be somewhere for me. In 32 years. And you went somewhere else." He looked at the door behind me like he was hoping the conversation would move inside and soften somehow. It didn't. "I looked into some things," he said. "I have a contact at a retail group. They do artisan markets, the big ones, regional. I could make an introduction." "In exchange for what?" I asked. He frowned. "Nothing. I'm your father." "You want to be involved," I said. "You want to be involved," I said. "You want to feel like you helped build it. That way it's not just mine." "That's not fair." "It is, though." I had been thinking about this for 2 days and I was very calm. Every time I've done something that worked, there's been a version of this conversation where suddenly there's a contact, or a connection, or advice. But when I needed you in that room Saturday, you weren't there. He didn't respond for a moment. "The shop is doing well," I told him. "I have bookings. I have wholesale inquiries. I have a lawyer for the LLC and a CPA for the books. I built this without a single introduction from anyone in this family." He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "You're going to regret shutting people out." "I'm not shutting anyone out," I said. "I'm just not holding the door open the way I used to." He left. I went back inside and sat at my workbench for an hour without working, just sitting with how quiet it was, how okay the quiet felt. That night I had 8 new orders and a message from a boutique in Asheville asking about a consignment arrangement. I should have known something was coming. My brother had sent one more text 2 days later. "Heads up. Mom's been talking to some people. Not sure what she's doing, but it felt off." He didn't explain further and I didn't ask. I filed it away. The first sign was a comment on my Etsy shop, 1 star. "Cheaply made, clasp broke immediately. Seller was rude when I asked for a refund." I had never received a refund request. The username was brand new, created the same week. Then 2 more, within 48 hours. All 1 star, all vague in the same specific way, all from accounts with no history. Tarnished within a week. Not worth the price. Wouldn't recommend. I had been making jewelry for 6 years. My return rate was under 1%. Every piece I made I tested myself. The clasps I used were surgical grade. I knew what this was. I didn't panic. I documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, usernames, dates. I contacted Etsy's support team with a pattern laid out clearly. Then I called a woman named, I'll call her my journalist friend, because that's what she was by then, someone who had written a small local feature on independent makers in our county 8 months earlier. She had given me her card. I had kept it. "Someone's tanking your reviews," she said when I explained it. "Yes." "Do you know who?" "I have a feeling," I said. "But I don't have proof yet." "Get it," she said. "If you do, call me." I reached out to every recent buyer directly and asked them by name to share their honest experience if they were willing. Within 24 hours, 41 people had left 5-star reviews. They wrote things like, "The craftsmanship is unlike anything I've found online. Isla takes real care," and "I've bought 4 pieces. I will keep buying." The contrast was obvious. Anyone looking could see the 1-star cluster for what it was. I reported the fake reviews. Etsy removed them. Then I posted something on my shop social page. Not angry, not defensive, just a photo of my workbench and a paragraph that said, "Someone tried to damage what I've built. It didn't work. If you've been a customer, you know why. Thank you for being my answer." It got shared 400 times in one weekend. My mother called that Sunday. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. In it, she said she had asked around about my business because she was worried about me and just wanted to make sure I was making good decisions. She said some of the people she talked to had concerns. She did not say who. She did not say what kind of concerns. She said she hoped I wasn't reading too much into things. I saved the voicemail and sent it to my journalist friend. 2 days later, something happened I did not expect. My brother's girlfriend called me. She had my number from a group chat we'd all been in for a holiday dinner last year, and she called me at 7 in the evening, and when I answered, she said, "I need to talk to you. Can I come by?" She drove 30 minutes to sit across from me at my kitchen table. She had a tight, careful expression, and she kept her hands wrapped around a mug I hadn't filled yet. "I didn't know how bad it was," she said. I waited. "Your mom made a group chat after the showcase. It was her, your dad, your brother, your aunt." She paused. "I was added by accident, I think. Or maybe your brother added me without telling her, but I've been reading it for 2 weeks and I—" She stopped. "They've been coordinating, reaching out to vendors you work with, telling them the quality was inconsistent, trying to get your wholesale conversations dropped before they started." I felt something go very still in my chest. "There's more," she said. She slid her phone across the table. The group chat was open. I read it slowly. My mother's name at the top. Messages from 3 weeks ago. "She needs to understand this isn't sustainable. If she struggles enough, she'll come back to reality. My father, I talked to someone at the retail group. I'll make sure the introduction doesn't happen. My brother." And this was the one that sat with me. My brother. She won't listen to reason. Maybe she listens to failure. I put the phone down. I looked at her. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. She looked like she had been preparing the answer for days. "Because I've been watching your brother make excuses for this family for as long as I've known him. And I can't." She shook her head. "I can't be part of it by staying quiet." I asked if I could screenshot the messages. She said yes. She said more than that. She said I could use anything she'd seen and that she would say so publicly if I needed her to. I thanked her. I meant it completely. After she left, I sat in my kitchen for a long time. The workbench was right there through the doorway, all the half-finished pieces catching light, the pressed flowers drying on the rack, the wire in its little labeled jars. I had built all of this in a small apartment without anyone's help, and they had looked at it and seen something to manage instead of something to celebrate. I picked up my phone and called my journalist friend. "I have the proof," I said. The article ran 4 days later. The headline was, "A local jewelry maker went viral. Then her family tried to stop her." My friend had been careful and thorough. She included the fake review pattern, the vendor outreach, the dates. She quoted a vendor who confirmed he had received a call from a woman claiming to be my mother expressing concerns about product quality. She did not publish the group chat screenshots directly. Instead, she described the content and confirmed their existence. The story was specific and verifiable and quiet in the way that real damage always is. By noon, the day it ran, it had been shared across 3 regional Facebook groups and picked up by a small independent media outlet that covered women entrepreneurs. My Etsy shop traffic spiked so fast I had to add a waitlist. The comments under the article were the kind I had read before under other people's stories and never imagined would be about mine. This is why so many women build alone. The threat isn't outside, it's at the table. And she kept making things while they were trying to break her. That's the whole story, and one that someone had written simply. She didn't fight back with noise, she fought back with work. I respect that more than anything. That night, a woman came into my next pop-up event. I had 3 running in rotation by then, and she stood at the table for a long time not saying anything, just looking at each piece. Then she looked up and said, "I read the article. I drove an hour and a half to come here." She bought the entire Quiet One set, all 12 pieces. She said, "I'm giving one to every woman in my office who started something this year." I went to the back of the venue after she left and stood next to the coat rack for about 2 minutes. Not falling apart, just letting myself feel how far it had traveled from that first empty Saturday night. My brother texted the morning the article ran. "I'm sorry. I didn't know it went that far. I should have said something sooner." I read it once and set the phone down and went back to the 47 messages in my shop inbox. There were things I could have said to him. There were things that were true that I had every right to send. Instead, I kept working. 3 months later, my mother sent a card in the mail. Handwritten. She said she had been wrong and she was sorry and she hoped I would give her the chance to do better. It was sincere sounding. It had her real handwriting, the loopy cursive I grew up seeing on birthday cards and grocery lists. I read it twice. I put it in a drawer. I didn't throw it away. But I also didn't call her, not that week, not yet. Because an apology and accountability are two different things, and I had learned the difference the hard way. My father never reached out. I noticed that too. 6 months after the showcase that no one came to, I signed a lease on a small studio space. Not a storefront, not yet. A proper workspace with a real light table and room to expand the pressed flower collection and a window that faced east so the mornings were gold. I hired a part-time assistant, a woman fresh out of design school who had emailed me 3 times in 1 month asking if I needed help. I said yes on the third email. She was exactly right for the work. On the day I got the keys to the studio, I stood in the empty room for a while, the way you do when a space is still only possibility. The floors were wide plank pine. The east window was everything I had imagined. Somewhere behind me, the city was doing what cities do, and somewhere across town my family was living their version of normal, and in here it was just me and the keys and the thing I had built without them. I didn't call anyone to mark the moment. I didn't post about it. I just took out my sketchbook and sat on the floor by the east window and started drawing the next collection. A few weeks after I opened the studio, a woman came by for a custom consultation. She was quiet and nervous, and she said she had been following my shop for almost a year. Her daughter wanted to study jewelry making, she said, but kept worrying she wasn't talented enough, that it was too risky, that she'd started too late. I handed her a copy of my first ever finished piece. I keep a few framed on the studio wall as a reminder. A simple hammered copper ring from 6 years ago that is honestly quite bad. Uneven, a little rough, charmingly terrible. Tell her, I said, that everything you see in this studio started there. She looked at it for a moment, then at me, then around at the display cases and the light table and the jars of pressed flowers in rows. Did anyone tell you that you could do it? She asked. I thought about the showcase, the empty table, the string lights I hung alone, the silent phone. No, I said, which is exactly why I did.